Real hot girl shit.
And if the beat live, you know Lil Juke made it.
Body yaddy 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 yaddy. Body yaddy 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 yaddy.
Body crazy, curvy, wavy, big titties, lil' waist. Body crazy, curvy, wavy, big titties, lil' waist.
Body yaddy 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 yaddy.
Look at how I body that, ate it up and gave it back. Yeah, you look good, but they still wanna know we're making it. Saucy like a barbecue, but you won't get your baby back.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another edition of the Pretty Plus Size and Powerful Pop-Up Conversations. All month long, we are talking to different women who are living life and making history. Okay? If this is your first time joining us, my name is Aziza, aka Zebo, aka the Human Universe, aka your favorite fat girl. If you don't remember none of them, remember your favorite fat girl, okay? I would appreciate that one, all right? Anywho, if you're tuning in right now, whenever you see this video, make sure you share the live, tag your friends so that they can come on and watch, and leave any questions or comments down below, and we'll get to them if we have time. So today we have another phenomenal woman doing her phenomenal thing. I'm gonna let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Miss Tynetta Oliver, and I'm the owner and operator of Marie's Playground, which is a recreation center for children with special needs.
All right. I love that. Again, like I said, I'm just writing notes and stuff like that. So Marie's Playground, tell us a little bit more about that. How did you come up with that concept? Let's start there. How did you come up with that concept?
I tell people 100% that this was God-led all the way. Nothing but vision, nothing but everything possible that happened with this idea was nothing but God. And so my daughter got her diagnosis of autism back in December 5th, 2017. I tell people at that point, my life had forever changed. And so I went right into work mode of making sure my daughter got the services that she needs and making sure that I had the right connections at places. And so one thing that I noticed, though, going throughout this journey was that there were literally no places that I could take my daughter that were sensory friendly. And so just FYI, like Chuck E. Cheese has a day or two a month, right, that are sensory friendly, or the Discovery World has a time where it's sensory friendly as well. But there aren't many places around Milwaukee that are sensory friendly. And so this is how this all came about. I literally was like, we need a place here where kids can go just to be them, and especially kids with special needs, because I can't take my daughter to like a Dave & Buster's. The first time I took my daughter to Dave & Buster's, she freaked out. It was too much sound, too much light. We were in there for not even 5 minutes before I told everybody, listen. And I was there for a birthday party, and I told everybody, like, we have to go. And so those type of experiences for me caused me to really go, okay, we need something like this center here. And the name, everything about it, like it started to come in my dreams. I started to write things down. I started to connect with people. And then before you know it, Marie's Playground came about. And so it's just, like I said, nothing but God-led. I can't tell you countless people that I connect with on a regular basis who are like, I need help. Like, where do I even start with getting a kid? When I have a kid with a diagnosis, where do I start? Because the system, baby, they didn't help me none. This was me going through this journey in this system on my own, of me literally figuring out what's best for my kid. And so that's how Marie's Playground came about.
Okay. So
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I was first introduced to children with autism through my brother's fiance. Her daughter had autism. And so that was my first experience, and she was mostly nonverbal, but she had her words that she would she would speak clearly. And then I understand it's in an entire spectrum, so it's different for all people. Like a lot of times, well, I'm not even going to say a lot of times, just from people that I know, and I've met some autistic adults as well. And I mean, literally everything is different. Like some of the two adults that I met really love music. So
Yes.
music is kind of like their their soother. So I like applause. So my question comes, what, like you said, when you kind of had to figure out a lot on your own, what did support and going out and finding those resources look like for you?
Okay, so pretty much I got that diagnosis, like I said, December 5th of 2017. And I just remember my mom came to the appointment with me. I called myself, telling them, I'm like, I'm gonna go by myself. And my mom was like, no, I'm coming with you because I know how it is to get a diagnosis of something, or, something with my kid, and then feeling like I needed support at that time. And so I remember they legit just gave me a packet and said, look for organizations that you could work with. The organization that I went through at the time, yes, they were like, they had a wait list. So they were not able to provide services for my daughter. And they were like, okay, like here's a packet of resources for kids with autism and families. And you now call to see if you can get in because there's so many wait lists everywhere.
Wow. Just
Yes.
here's your packet and you figure it out
Yes.
on your own is pretty much what
Yes.
they said.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
in all honesty, I'm gonna be honest, I was very even grateful for the packet because I was like, if I had went to any other organization, I don't even know if they would have did that.
Yeah. Wow. And do you
So
think
go ahead.
I'm sorry, do you think it's a matter of like demographics, like socioeconomics? Like, do people, who may have a little more money, do they have more access to resources? Is it just a lack of information, or you know what I mean? Like what do you think? Is that difference between what you or someone else might have experienced versus somebody who has a bunch of help or gets a bunch of resources or has that access to different avenues to help with autism?
Well, in all honesty, I think it starts with the doctors that you go through. Let's start there. Because my doctor, let me remind you, she is a Black doctor. She did not want to technically have me go get MRE tested for autism. I had all the signs possible. This is why I say everything is God-led, because I literally remember saying, like, I know something is going on with my daughter and I need help. And I was working at Next Door Foundation at the time. And this lady, Kristen, I'm forever grateful for her, had worked with kids with autism. She said, all the signs that you're saying sounds like your daughter has autism. I'm like, no, I don't think she got that. Like, you think so? Like, I don't think it's that serious, right? And I had never heard of autism, but after that day, because I'm a researcher and I'm gonna do what I need to do, I went to go research more information about autism. I started doing these parent little tests that they had online, and every test said failed, consult with doctor, failed, consult with doctor. And so I would say after my last one, that's when I decided to call my doctor, and I just told her, I'm going to get my kid tested for autism. And that's it. So it started with the doctors.
Yeah.
Because I understand that she did not just want to just put a diagnosis on my daughter. And that was something that she said, though. Once I went to the doctor, she said, so many kids come through doctor offices, and the first thing they say is, oh, something wrong with their kid. Let me throw a diagnosis on them. Let me send them somewhere to get a diagnosis that they might not necessarily have. There are misdiagnoses of autism, misdiagnoses of ADHD, and it's common. But that's why my doctor was reluctant at first to send me anywhere. And she actually had connected with a coworker of hers first to figure out which would be a reputable organization for me to go through to get the actual diagnosis for Marie.
Okay. So how old was your daughter when she got her diagnosis?
She was 2.
Okay. And what were some of the, like, for someone who may not know, or for someone who may be thinking but is unsure, what are some of the things that they can or should be looking for in a younger child?
And so for my daughter, it was interesting. At the daycare centers, they do something called ASQ, which is Ages and Stages questionnaires. And every time my daughter did a questionnaire, or we did a questionnaire for my daughter, there was she scored lower in like her language, and then she would score lower in some other things, like some occupational therapy things, like some some movement. And so anything with like body movement and things, because she actually started to walk later. And so I felt like those things were like a first hint. And then, like I said, when she transitioned, I'll never forget, she transitioned from her 1-year-old classroom to her 2-year-old classroom. And I seen a really different kid. I seen her go from like super just, she was willing to connect with people. She was like very like happy, and she still is a very happy child now. But I noticed that she was like reluctant to go towards people and be in bigger groups with kids. She like wanted to be by herself all the time. Like I said, her language wasn't as developed as the other kids. And so once again, though, my doctor flagged that sometimes there are kids who are just late bloomers. And so she was like, maybe she's a late bloomer. But the thing was like, she was like not really doing a lot of like conversational or like having technical words. She did a lot of baby blubberish. And so, you know, at that point, I talked to the daycare that she was going to at the point, and they were like, hey, we should do a, they did a referral to birth to 3 first. And this should have been my flag. So she went through birth to 3 testing, and they actually flagged that she needed a special education teacher over speech. And I remember going, why does she need a special education teacher? It's just her speech. Like, that don't make sense to me. And I remember they put her in this room called the motor room, which was known as her play space. And so I was like, maybe because she want to play, like that's why she scored low. I was like, come do it at the house. They came to the test at the house, and she did amazing. And so that should have been my first flag, because technically she would have been diagnosed even earlier. She would have been diagnosed at 2, but it would have been earlier than the year, not later.
Okay.
And so that was my biggest hints, was like I said, she was walking later. Her communication wasn't there. And like I said, it was like a switch or something went off. It was like she was like really social before and all those things, and then she wasn't social anymore. And she was like having baby blubberish, like the baby talk. And I was like talking to her, and I would be trying to make sure I'm framing my sentence shorter, because I'm like, maybe she don't understand what I'm saying or something, you know. I knew what she was saying, and I knew what she was trying to get out, but nobody else could. So that's how that started.
Okay. So what, how old is your daughter now?
She is now 6 years old.
Okay. So what does like schooling look like for her? And is there like a supplemental therapy that she goes to or anything like that?
Yes. So she actually goes through ABA therapy. So my daughter has a schedule out of this world. She goes through applied behavior analysis therapy every day. That helps to really help her to become more social, help her with those talking skills or those communication skills, and help her also with sensory needs. And so they help her in that. But my daughter also goes through occupational therapy. That helps her with her fine motor and her gross motor. So some people don't even realize, and I didn't even realize, you know, I called Children's Hospital one day, and I remember telling him about what's on my daughter's IEP, which she only has speech. And so he was like, have you thought of occupational therapy for her? I'm like, no, why was she in occupational therapy? And before you know it, I end up talking to the team. We end up doing the test for her, and she needed occupational therapy. And I didn't realize the difficulty even too with her learning how to ride a bike. Like those things that we didn't technically think of. Like, I didn't realize that it was an occupation. Like, it was something where she really needed more help than what I was able to give her. So technically she goes through applied behavior analysis therapy throughout the day. They have been supporting her just more recently with her virtual learning as well. So she's still going through classes. She has speech therapy, and she also has this occupational therapy. So she has a schedule.
All right. So that sounds like a lot of work. So she needs her Marie's playground. Yes. So tell us more about what are going to be some of the things that are going to be offered to the different children with special needs, and like what with autism, what other special needs will be accommodated through Marie's playground.
Okay, so I just want to mention that Marie's playground is like a space for peace and joy to happen there. And that's for any kid with special needs, any type of special needs. I think a lot of people, in all honesty, forget that special needs does not have to be physical. We automatically think physical, but a lot of people, when you see my daughter, you wouldn't know that she had a special need unless I told you. And so Marie's Playground is a space where it's just nothing but joy and love filtering out and having connections with those parents. I wanted to bring a space where parents can just be parents, and also to connect with parents that understand what's going on. And so just having the different spaces where they can go and enjoy themselves, whether it be like a lights room, a music room, basketball hoop space, swings. The point is, Joe, just making it accessible for those kids with special needs. Sometimes we need special swings. Sometimes we need special slides, special stairs, all those type of things. Like I said, that we might not necessarily think of off the top of our heads. It's something that's needed for families. And so, like I said, I really want to be able to provide it as a sanctuary for families, to be able to connect, to be able to just feel that love and joy in the space without judgment.
Yes, yes, yes. So what does parent support like for someone who, you know, they've never had to go through this in their family? So they might have this might be a first time special needs parent, or even if they have other kids and this is their first time having a child with special needs. What kind of parent support, if any, will Marie's Playground offer? Plus, like, what do you suggest for parents who might be going through this?
So I think I get it. Biggest thing is, like, I would just say for support wise, it's being able to talk through what exact services that the child may need. I think you need spaces like that to talk about more so what journey you want to send your child on. Because in all honesty, not every parent who has a kid with autism wants to take their kid to ABA therapy or speech therapy or occupational therapy. And so it's really in tailoring to not only necessarily the kid's need, but what the parent is interested in doing. Because the ABA therapy has a lot of, like, how do you say it, research behind it.
Okay.
And so there's so much research behind it. It's like, is it really beneficial or is it not? And it's really dependent on the family and if they want to have that space. And so I want to provide that support group type space for families to be able to just, like, vent in whatever way they need to and have that space, just like I said, to be not judged. I think sometimes it's hard. And for myself, like, I come up from a family where, you know, my immediate family, there was no kids with special needs at all. So this was brand new to everybody. Like, nobody knew what to do. And so it was, like I said, a lot of research and things. And I think I can bring that background of what I've been through to other parents and bringing those resources too. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing resources with families on a regular basis, providing those support groups with families, and also trying to troubleshoot. We always need somebody that we can talk to figure out things. Like, I was just troubleshooting actually my daughter in schooling, because they're going back in person now, and I want to make sure that she can get those services. But I also want to make sure that, you know, she's still getting her therapy. So being able to problem solve with somebody, I think, will be helpful.
Awesome. So the very first live I did in this series was with a woman who works in schools with children who have special needs, and she was talking about the importance of parents and families being an advocate for that child, especially in certain school districts, or, you know what I'm saying, types of schools. I won't bash anything, but we know what we're talking about, because they'll get kind of like pushed to the wayside. And you know, we know from going to school that when children have special needs, they go down into the basement. You know, they're secluded as if they're, you know, outside of societal, you know what I'm saying, like life or whatever. But what are some things that you would want people to know when dealing with families with children with special needs and dealing with those children in particular?
I think the biggest thing is to give them grace, give them patience. I think sometimes we're very judgmental as people. I know I've been in spaces where my daughter has fell out on the floor, and the person first instinct is like, you need to give her a whooping. Baby, you don't know the half of it, honey. A
Mhm.
whooping does not necessarily help her to understand exactly why she's getting the whooping in the first place, you know? And so,
Mhm.
like, trying to even, like I've told people, trying to explain to her why she got a whooping is a whole nother discussion,
Right.
right? And like, does
Right.
she actually understand? And so, I think the biggest thing is just to make sure you're providing patience and just being a helping hand to them. Um, I think when you talk about the school system, though, you have to be the biggest advocate for your child because they will not be. They don't understand the needs that your child has better than you. You
Mhm.
are able to tell them the triggers. You are able to tell them everything about the child because they're not the one living with them. You are. So make sure you're being the biggest advocate. If you think they need certain services, put it out there. I literally just had a discussion with a parent who said she felt like her kid needed some accommodations. You let that IEP team know, hey, I think my child needs some accommodations. And they can't tell you no technically. They're
Mhm.
supposed to be able to set up a meeting and go over those things. So don't let nobody tell you that you can't change an IEP. You can change an IEP. You can email them and tell them, hey, I need some changes to be made. I need some accommodations. I think this will work better for my daughter. Put that out there. And I also think it's important to remember that that IEP is a legal document. They have to provide those services in that IEP. It
Mm.
is legal. It's
Mhm.
a binding document. So please make sure to, like, at the end of the day, it's very important that they following up and doing those services. So follow up with them and check to see how your child is doing. Don't just, like, I think sometimes we as parents can get those IEPs and be like, woof, we good now.
Mhm.
They getting the services. No. Check in
Yeah.
and see how those services are going. Because
Yeah.
they could be doing a lot of talking and say they doing certain things and it's not. So I think the biggest thing is just, like, also to follow up.
Yeah, yeah, and that was another thing that she was saying. She pretty much said the exact same thing that you said. Like, an IEP is a living document. She said her goal with a lot of the students is to help them grow out of the IEP or
Yes.
advance. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna work on this, and it's not gonna be the same from kindergarten to 12th grade because the
Yes.
goal is to
Yes.
get you to grow and possibly grow out of it if you can. Even encouraging parents, and I mean, all of this was brand new for me. Like, even encouraging parents, like, take that IEP because higher education is still an option. You know what
Yes.
I mean? Also distinguishing between, you know, physical versus um, cognitive,
Yes.
challenges and things like that, and not letting them lump everything together. Like, we see children who may need a wheelchair, but that doesn't mean that they have, a cognitive disability with that, or,
Correct.
it might be one part of like, I mean, something like dyslexia. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
that doesn't mean that, oh, just lump me in. Like, we have to be, like you said, and like she said, we have to be advocates
Yep.
for kids. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm definitely excited for your journey. Um, yeah, I'm definitely excited for your journey. What
Thank
are
you.
some of the um what are okay, what would be some advice that you would give to another parent or a family member who is kind of having difficulty with maneuvering with a child with special needs?
Baby, take it one day at a time. No day is going to be the same. There are going to be more easier days than hard days. And we are still developing as people. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your child. I also think, in all honesty, it's really hard sometimes to find out that your child has a disability. And so I think it's important to take care of yourself. And it's okay, baby. It's going to be okay. As hard as it seemed in that moment when we first get that diagnosis to when they start services to when we still trying to figure out services, it will be okay. And your child will be okay. And your child is going to be successful in their own way.
Yes.
We don't necessarily have to follow society's norms. And I think society needs to work better to make sure that we're accepting adults and kids with disabilities and not necessarily just being as judgmental as we are sometimes. And so I speak that because I remember I was just in a grocery store recently, and I could tell this woman at the cash register was having a hard time, and everybody was so frustrated with her. And I'm like, you have no clue what that woman going through. You don't know if she like even has a disability or something. And so you just got to remember to be patient with people. Be patient. It's okay. Baby, take it day by day. That's the best advice I can give. It's a life journey. It's a life journey for sure. And I think that there are moments where as parents, we hold ourselves accountable. Like, what could we have done different? But baby, we was giving these kids for a reason. There's a reason why we were gifted these beautiful kids, and to remember that. So
I love that. You listen, the tear that's forming in the corner of my eye, I'm about to pull my hat down a little bit more.
Oh, baby. Listen.
I love it. I love it because I mean, just so I'm not a parent. I'm not a parent at all. And I look at, just people who have what do they call it? Normal, what I forgot what they call it when someone neurotypical that have neurotypical children, and the the struggles that they go through with just having kids who just have the basic needs. So for anybody out there who has a child with special needs, or or anybody who has children, multiple children, having to deal with different personalities, I applaud you. I commend you. Y'all are the real superheroes out here, for real. Y'all are the real superheroes.
I appreciate you, baby.
How can people get in contact with you if they want to know more information about Marie's Playground? If they want to get involved, if they want to support, where can they find you and how can they contact you?
I'm telling everybody, connect with me on Facebook on my Nia Marie Facebook page. So NIAMARIE, Nia Marie. And so just background even with my name. So Nia was my nickname that my grandfather gave me that stands for purpose. Okay. And Marie is my middle name. And so add me on Facebook to keep everything up to note, keep you all up to distance until I put my Facebook page up for Marie's Playground. Make sure you add me on Facebook.
Right. All right. Well, I thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your story, sharing your journey, and really the way you about to touch people's lives. Oh my goodness. Girl.
Thank you so much. It's just, listen, it's literally all this is legit, like nothing but God led. And I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for even inviting me here to be able to speak about Marie's Playground. It is just, baby, it's from the heart, and I mean it all. So.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. For anybody who has watched, make sure you share this. Share, and share some more. Make sure, like she said, you find her on Nia Marie. If you forget that, listen, make sure you like the Pretty Plus Size and Powerful page. Join the group. Follow us on Instagram. We'll make sure to keep that information coming to you. If you know somebody who has special needs children, make sure that they know to look out for Marie's Playground. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in to another edition of the Pretty Plus Size and Powerful Podcast Pop-Up. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see y'all in a few. Have a good night.
Thank you.